Ron DeSantis has just unveiled his economic agenda, which he calls the Declaration of Economic Independence. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video. Today, we got some pretty surprising news out of the great state of New Hampshire today, as Ron DeSantis actually unveiled a platform. That is right. For the first time this entire cycle, DeSantis has finally shown what he would do on economic issues if he somehow stumbled into the White House. Yeah, after how many months of this? He finally realized, wait, economic issues are far more important than culture wars. I'm glad to see that somebody in the DeSantis campaign told him, we gotta stop this crap. But it's like, is it too little too late? I think so. But I'm still going to react to this platform to see, is it any good? Is it cringe? We just got to see. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that you all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody. So DeSantis has finally decided, you know what? We need to change some stuff up. Alright, we're going to finally talk about issues that matter to voters. I'm shocked about this too, but he actually seemingly has released a very in-detailed platform. Now, I'm not going to go over all of this. I recommend you do read this part. I did try to read through most of it. I actually did. And while it's good, it does get a bit repetitive. You hear China like 30 times. You hear like COVID 20. But I do like that he talked about how most of this growth we have seen since 2020 has only been in tech companies. So we're not really seeing this real GDP growth. It's only been seen in like 2 companies. I do like some parts like that. I do like he touched upon, hey, we gotta have an economic policy focused on working families. Overall, there is good stuff that he did mention here, but this isn't how he's going to solve it. We're just going to say, in a nutshell, he talked about China. He talked about the rise of deaths because of opioids, suicide, all of that with those without a college degree. And we're going to focus on how is he going to solve all of these issues. I'm glad that he's talking about it, but I have some problems, though, with the first part, the fact that he mentions COVID 50 times. He basically says COVID lockdowns are what caused this problem. It's like, no. We've had this problem for decades. Just COVID kind of reinforced what's been happening. That's my major problem with the first part. I'm glad he hasn't mentioned woke yet, but I do recommend you read the first part. I'm not going to read it here. It's kind of gets repetitive, but it's okay. It talks about kind of what's wrong with some issues, but just some parts was a bit overdone. Now, as for how he's going to solve this, of course, the first thing he mentions is Florida. Stop bringing up Florida. I swear, you're not winning people over just by mentioning how great Florida is. If you mention, okay, we did all of this in the state of Florida, then show how Florida's doing, that would make much more sense. But just to say, well, you see here, Florida, the economy is ranked number 1. Okay, how? Florida's number 1. Okay? But that doesn't make any sense. You just talked about what's wrong with America. Florida's number one. You get the point. There's a lot of problems that I do have with talking about Florida nonstop. But fine, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, Florida's doing okay and stuff. Pretty good, actually. Either way, let us see what he has for a policy. And he calls it the Declaration of Economic Independence. Oh. I didn't like the name at first. I was like, this is kind of corny. But he actually made 10 pillars. Are you freaking serious? That is the most corny thing you could have done. And look at this. Why is it uneven? Why? You have 5 numbers here, 5 there. Why is it... my OCD is kicking in because it's not even. Whoever designed this, fire them. This looks awful. But okay. How is he going to solve the issues? Taking back control of our economy from China and restoring our economic sovereignty. DeSantis will end our abusive relationship with the CCP, reverse our ever-increasing trade deficits, ban imports of goods made from stolen intellectual property, strengthen protection to stop child and forced labor, and end China's preferential trade status. Who does that sound like to you? Just who? Some orange guy. This reminds me a lot of a certain orange man. But I'm glad he's talking about it, but we have evidence, documented cases of you talking to donors saying, I actually want free trade with China. I'm glad you're talking about this, but do you really believe this? DeSantis will demand that American companies act in accordance with American interests, which means preventing companies from sharing critical technologies with China and banning the sale of strategic assets like farmland, the CCP members, and their affiliates. Glad he's talking about it, but where were you months ago about this? Every other candidate mentioned this, back in April? But now you're finally going to mention the farmland stuff? That's old news. DeSantis will incentivize the reparation of the U.S. capital from China through strategic tax abatements and aligning American incentives with strategic goals to help secure supply chains and invest in America. I don't understand what that means, but I guess he's going to try to bring capital back from China? Just say tariffs. Don't say strategic tax abatements. No, people are not going to understand what that means. Just say we're going to tax China through tariffs. But yeah, that part is just, A lot of it's copy and paste, but a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. Just say tariffs, but whatever. That's one thing. How would I grade that? Maybe like a C, maybe a D. It's not that good. It's just kind of copy and paste, very generic. It is what it is. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but not great either. Achieving 3% growth by incentivizing investment, eliminating bureaucracy and red tape, and keeping taxes low. DeSantis will advance an ambitious tax and regulatory reform to unleash American production, increase productivity and growth, and support our families, workers, and small businesses while lowering inflation. But how? This is the problem that I have with DeSantis. He just says we're going to do all of this. But how? Unlike Trump at least has Agenda 47, which goes into detail how he's going to do what. DeSantis will reverse Biden's job-crippling and ideological regulations and executive orders on day one. So would everybody else. DeSantis will eliminate the fourth branch of government. The days of attempting to regulate the American economy into oblivion by ideological extremism will be done. That's your takeaway? We ought to eliminate the fourth branch of government because they're regulating the economy? No! Yes, that's part of it. They suck on that front. But no, we gotta eliminate them Because they're corrupt, not because they regulate the economy. Get rid of the fourth branch, which he's talking about bureaucracy and stuff, because they're corrupt. They're usurping government power illegally, not because they're regulating the economy. DeSantis will work not only extend the individual tax rates and further simplify the tax code, but also seek permanence. Okay, more tax cuts. DeSantis will seek a more competitive tax system that incentivizes long-term domestic investment over financial speculation and short-term returns while purging the code of K Street carve-outs and loopholes. Finally, something different. Focus on long-term growth. I like that. Not, oh, you get an investment for investing for 5 seconds, or I should say a tax break. I like that he's talking about, hey, we got to focus on long-term growth. But so far, that's the only really good thing that actually makes sense and not generic. DeSantis will seek to make permanent, full immediate expensing, maintain territorially, and further strengthen base erosion measures to ensure corporations are investing in America. Again, kind of like Trump, but glad he mentions it. DeSantis will use all available Article 2 authority to restore accountability in the executive branch, move agencies out of D.C., slash the bureaucratic state, restrict foreign lobbying, and post-employment revolving doors by former government officials, and ban individual stock trading by members of Congress and executive branch officials. Okay. The agency stuff, I understand why some people would say, we gotta break up the swamp. But you're just moving the swamp to different states. So, unless you completely reform it, I am against moving agencies out of DC. If if you do get rid of all the corruption and stuff, you can make the argument, maybe. But outside of that, I'm glad he finally mentioned, some of the corruption. But, what? What does the rest of this have to do with anything? This part is, not that good. It's not that good at all. Outside of the long-term growth stuff, it's at best. Unleash American energy independence. DeSantis will unleash our domestic energy sector, modernize to protect our grid, and advance American energy independence. This will not only increase our economic and national security, while reducing inflation, it will also help fuel a manufacturing renaissance that will create jobs, revitalize our communities, and improve our standard of living. We can no longer afford to tie one arm behind our economy's back by prioritizing the left's ideological agenda. What does this have to do with anything? Crushing regulations and endless permitting requirements. Why did you... Not everything's a cultural issue, not a cultural war. DeSantis will reverse the federal government's attempt to force people to buy electric vehicles. Will save the American automobile. Alright, that's fine. But why does he keep mentioning the left's, ideological agenda? On economics, on energy, ending environmental, social, and governance standards, and political engineering by large investors. Oh boy. DeSantis will not tolerate woke corporations. He said the line. He said the thing. Using ESG as an end run around our constitutional system to post heavy-handed left-wing indicts through a concentrated private power. There will be no ideological litmus test for getting a loan, establishing a bank account, or running a business. I'm glad he mentioned that part, but just don't say woke. Just say big corporations can't make you, you must be a liberal to open a bank account. Just don't say woke. Just say, big corporations. DeSantis will strengthen rules governing fiduciary responsibilities, transparency requirements, and scrutiny of firms that manage public pension funds. But didn't you just say that you're going to get rid of most regulation? Okay. DeSantis will instruct the DOJ Civil Rights Division and relevant agencies to root out discrimination under the false guises of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are racist, discriminatory, and obscure the fundamental truth that all men are created equal. You just copied that right from Trump. That's nothing new. I'm noticing a familiar pattern. There's nothing new here. Reforming our education system. DeSantis will support school choice nationwide, protect parental rights, reform accreditation, and steer funding towards programs and institutions that supports the jobs of the future. Our students will learn how to read, write, do math, and think critically instead of learning to hate our country. DeSantis will educate artisans and engineers instead of politicized administrators and bureaucrats, seeking to accelerate students along these career paths as early as possible. DeSantis will work with the private sector to accelerate and develop vocational and apprenticeship programs in anticipation of a great industrial revival, with a goal to become number one in the world for skilled trades by 2030? Hold on. Let's say theoretically, you become president in 2025. You're telling me you're gonna reverse decades worth of damage when it comes to the industrial sector in under what, 5 years? DeSantis would no longer incentivize useless degrees and courses with blanket government loans. To that end, he'll make universities, not taxpayers, responsible for the loans their students accrue. He'll also seek to allow student loans to be discharged through bankruptcy like any other loan. Finally, this is like the third unique thing on this entire platform. I'm glad he mentioned, hey, you should be allowed to discharge loans through bankruptcy, student loans. DeSantis will create a fair labor market by securing the border, enforcing our laws, eliminating chain migration, and the diversity visa lottery, and limiting unskilled immigration. Whoa, hold on. The last part's a bit different. The rest is just Trump. I'm glad that he is focusing on, this scam known as legal immigration is good for Americans. It's like, in limited quantities, yes, but not unlimited immigration. It's like, no, that's not good. The American immigration system will serve Americans, not multinational corporate elites. All right, this is the only really good part. The rest is just, who frickin' cares? Or it's just copy and paste to Trump. Reigning in the Fed. DeSantis will appoint a chairman of the Federal Reserve who will focus on maintaining a stable dollar instead of the political pressures of the day. The Fed must focus on stable prices. It is not a social engineer and cannot be allowed to be an unaccountable economic central planner. DeSantis will ensure that the Fed does not implement a central bank digital currency to control the finances of hardworking Americans. DeSantis will block any attempts to establish a central bank digital currency or any other policies that will move us closer to a social credit system. Where Washington has sought to regulate and inhibit innovations such as Bitcoin and other technologies, DeSantis will protect entrepreneurship from central planners who seek to stifle what they cannot control. No! Did I just see frickin' Bitcoin? Oh my god. He brought up Bitcoin. When it comes to the Fed. Okay, I'm fine with, we gotta stop the central bank. But who frickin' cares about Bitcoin? DeSantis will require clear language disclosures by banks and shadow banks to increase transparency and better track systematic risks. DeSantis will support community and regional banks that bolster the economic front lines of Main Street. I like that. DeSantis will protect cryptocurrencies and work to end politically driven debanking and financial doxing. Last part's fine. Nobody cares about crypto anymore. That was what, 3 years ago? In the event of an existential economic crisis, DeSantis will seek to strip those accountable of old golden parachutes and prevent the further accumulation of wealth to those already deemed too big to fail. Okay, that's fine. But why are you doing the Francis Perez stuff with the freaking crypto? Why? DeSantis will be a new sheriff in town when it comes to spending, and he will not be afraid of using his veto pen. Our government programs as they exist today are wrought with waste, fraud, and abuse, and continue to be a major drag on our economy, our budget, and the flourishing of our citizens. DeSantis used his Article 2 authority to prohibit federal grants to entities that engage in active discrimination through DEI or other unconstitutional initiatives. He will no longer allow hardworking families and taxpayers to have their tax dollars flow to organizations that seek to undermine their values and beliefs. DeSantis will also mandate work requirements for welfare programs. Again, okay, that's fine, but who cares? So overall, it's there's some okay stuff, like the related to the immigration and stuff, but outside of that, this is either copy and paste or the same crap he's been saying beforehand. We gotta stop the woke corporations. I saw like 3 unique things. If they think this is what's going to turn around his campaign, if he released this 2 months ago, I would have been alright with it. But it's been 2 months and they expect this? No, build off of this platform. This should have been originally released day 1, not just now. This should have been a starting point. The fact that they're banking on this to be their entire plan, not a big fan of it. There's some good stuff. Don't get me wrong. There is some good stuff. But overall, this is like a D. Alright, as grading skill, like a D+. Glad he released it, but a lot of this is garbage. Nobody cares. Nobody, and you just counteract yourself like 15 times related to, we gotta eliminate regulation, to, we gotta stop the big woke companies. It's like, what do you actually believe in? I'm glad he released it, but I think it's too little too late. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.